So I just graduated from HBU about a year ago, so a year last December. And currently I homeschool my 4 kids. So that's my biggest ministry. That's a big deal. And then beyond that, we launched, a bunch of students from HBU just launched an online journal called An Unexpected Journal. Do you know the reference that that's from? From The Hobbit. Yeah. And that's just using reason and imagination, which is a big thing at HBU, to do apologetics. And we have articles. Some of us have published articles that we wrote in the program. Some of us are doing original articles, but that's been really fun, just working with some classmates. And then I write for an online magazine called Cultivating. That's cultivating truth, goodness, and beauty of Christianity. So it's more artistic. So we have chefs, artists, photographers, writers, musicians, poets. So that's about it. So I was drawn into apologetics because of my own crisis of faith. I grew up in a Christian home-ish. I was in a Christian school my whole elementary school, and really never questioned anything. Just always had a very experiential relationship with Christ. I always knew he was real. I just never doubted. And then as an adult, I started getting into more conversations with unbelieving friends. I had a couple really hardcore atheist friends that were poking at me pretty hard and asking questions I had just never really thought of. So it sort of undid me. And I wasn't necessarily interested in apologetics, but just kept getting drawn into it. And so the program really was my own personal journey first of regaining my faith. Yeah, so apologetics books weren't really a comfort for me, but it was Christianity Today posted, I don't know if you saw it, Meet the New Women Apologists. Oh my goodness. I don't know what it was about that article, but they looked so fierce on the front cover of that. And I was really drawn in because they talked about the relational element, they talked about the imagination side, and that was something I never knew existed. And something really piqued my interest with that. So I probably prayed about it for about a year at that point. I could not take the leap. But then eventually I just couldn't say no any longer, and I jumped. I think truth and goodness are kind of a given, but beauty is something that I think our culture maybe doesn't even know is a value, you know? And our truth should be beautiful, and goodness should be true, and they all work together. So the imagination, a biblical imagination, is reasonable and just shows that beautiful side. So that has been really soul-filling for me. So I think that's probably my favorite one. The thing that I think beauty teaches us that's the most important is how to value something for the way that it points to Him and not for what it does. And I think in our culture, we are so utilitarian, we are so pragmatic, we are so bottom line and materialistic. So beauty is the thing that draws us out of that. It draws us out of ourselves. It helps us focus on another. That's what good art does. And I just think it's the part of God that works on our imagination before we even know it sometimes. You know, it's hitting our emotions, it's drawing us in, we're being invited into something, so we're open. And that's when I think people are sometimes more open to hearing the truth of apologetic arguments, is once they've been hit with something first that prepares them for it, you know? Yeah, I mean, people come to God in so many different ways. So I definitely have friends who are like intellectual, they're asking the hard questions, what about the problem of evil, you know, and that's really what their hangups are, and we really do need to remove those barriers. So I absolutely think there's a place for that. But I do find that, you know, more the postmodern mind that is more into spiritual but not religious, they're the ones that are longing for meaning and beauty and purpose, and maybe have already dismissed that Christianity can offer that to them. So I'm really, really passionate about reclaiming that Christianity is beautiful. You know, there's a lot there that's meaningful and beautiful and rich. And it's not just, you know, a bunch of truth claims and this cold, rational faith, you know. So I do think there's a big demographic of our population right now that like really needs that side of it. You know, I heard a mama bear once say that everyone's a theologian. It just depends if you're going to be a good one or not. And that always stayed with me, because if you're a Christian, I think within reason, we all have to know a little bit about this if we want to engage in the culture. So that is a good reason to get into it. And then I think, again, for your own personal growth, this has been so faith-building for me, so soul-filling. I have learned about God in new ways. He's bigger than I ever imagined. So, I mean, I think everybody should dive in somehow.